The next two controls that I want to explore are the line and rectangle controls. They're useful for marking off space and grouping elements together on your forms and reports. Admittedly, lines and rectangles are not very exciting, but proper use of them can go a long way to making your forms and reports legible and unambiguous. Let's continue working with the controls form that we set up in the last movie. I can jump right into Design View by right-clicking on it here in the navigation pane and choosing Design View from the menu. The line control is this one over here on the Design tab in the Controls group. It's got the slanty line here. Let's go ahead and select it, and I'll add one into my form. Now when you click and drag out a line, you'll get this bounding box rectangle with the line drawn between the two corners. Now lines have this weird, unique property that when they're perfectly horizontal or perfectly vertical, they actually turn invisible. So you can't even see what you're doing here. It's a little bit strange. The only way that you can see what you're doing is by paying attention to the left-hand ruler or the ruler across the top if you're doing it horizontal. But when you let go of the line, you'll get the line here and it's already selected with the control handles in this left, center, and over here on the right. So now we can use our arrow keys or drag it around on the screen to put it in position. Let's go ahead and deselect it here. And if we switch our view into Form View, we can see the effect of our line. So there it is right there. Let's go ahead and switch back into Design View. I'm going to use this drop-down on the View menu and go into Design View. Now a quick aside here. We're going to be changing back and forth between Design View and Form View on this controls form that we're designing here. So in order to speed up that process, what I want to do is get rid of the extra view modes here from this drop-down list that we're not going to be using. In order to do that, I want to change a couple of quick properties here on our controls form. I'll go ahead and select this box here between the two rulers. That'll jump to the property sheet for the form. And I'm going to go down here to these allow modes here, and I'm going to change allow datasheet view to no, just by double clicking on it, and I'm going to change allow layout view to no as well. Now, when I go over here to my view menu, it's just those two options, and I can toggle back and forth between Form View and Design View without having to go back to the drop-down menu. So that'll speed up our process a little bit. Let's go ahead and save our change right now. Okay, back to the line. Let's go ahead and select it and take a look at the Formatting tab over here. Lines have a couple of properties that we can change here in this Shape Outline menu. We can change their color here from the available theme color chips or the standard color chips. We can make the line transparent if we'd like, or we can change to a specific color by choosing more colors here. We can also change the line thickness. So if I go to this menu, you can see a variety of thicknesses. Let's go ahead and make it really thick, this 6.1. I can also go back up to Shape Outline and come down to Line Type. We can choose from various solid or dashed line types here. Let's go ahead and choose this one here, this dash. Now as we made those changes, you might have noticed them changing over here in the property sheet as well. So we've got our border style set to dashes, and our border width is now 6 points. We can go ahead and make diagonal lines by clicking on one of the handles here and dragging down. Notice that when you do that, however, that the dashed line appearance doesn't actually translate very well. So unfortunately, you can't really have dashed lines on an angle. Let's go ahead and change our shape outline back to a solid line. I'll go to Line Type and choose the very first option here. Now by default, when you're drawing an angled line, it's going to go from the top left-hand corner down to the bottom right-hand corner. If you wanted to flip that around and go the other direction, we have this line slant property here. Notice that it's going this direction there. Let's go ahead and click on this drop-down list, and I'll choose the other option to go the other direction. If you click off of your line to deselect it, sometimes it's a little bit hard to reselect it. If I try clicking on it, you notice how it's not getting selected. The easiest way to reselect an angled line is to either draw a marquee box around the whole thing, like that, or you can come over here to this drop-down menu on the Format tab and choose it from the list here. So that's the Line 4 object. Let's go ahead and take a look at one more property of our line. I'm going to click on the bottom left-hand corner and drag it up so that it's perfectly horizontal, like that. One of the other properties that's actually useful to change with our lines is to make them respond dynamically to changes in screen sizes. So when you move this database to another computer that has a different size monitor than yours, you can have that line dynamically respond to that change. In order to do that, we'll go up here to the Arrange tab and take a look at this anchoring section here. The drop-down list gives us a lot of different options. I can anchor it to the top left corner, which is the default. I can stretch across the top or anchor it to the top right. I also have the same thing for the middle or the bottom. Now by default, it's anchored to the top left-hand corner. What that means is that our line object is going to draw on the screen this far away from the left-hand edge and this far away from the top. So right now I've got my line being drawn about 1/2 inch from the top and 1 inch over from the left-hand side. And then I've got the lines being drawn about 3.5 inches wide. If I go over here to the Home tab and switch my view, you'll see that's exactly what I get. It's about 1/2 inch from the top, 1 inch from the left, and it's about 3.5 inches wide. Let's go ahead and go back into Design View. Now what I can do is, let me drag this over just a little bit here. We'll put it right about there. What I can do now is change my Arrange tab here, go to Anchoring, and choose Stretch Across Top. When I do that, it's going to anchor it both to the left-hand side and to the right-hand side. And the distance between the 2 points is going to change dynamically based on my monitor. So now it's going to draw about 1 inch from the left-hand side and about 1 inch or so from the right-hand side. Let's switch over to the Home tab and take a look. So now you can see that the line is much wider than when I actually drew it. Let's go back into Design View. If you want to have your line stretch all the way across the form, regardless of how big the form is, what we can do is just drag these points over here to the left and drag this one over here to the right so that it aligns with this edge here, which indicates the right-hand side of our form. Now, when I change my view, the line will stretch all the way across my form regardless of the screen size. Let's go ahead and go back into Design View. The other control I want to take a look at is the Rectangle tool. For me, it's on line 2, so I'm going to use this button here to scroll through my controls. This is the Rectangle tool right there. It's just a white box. Now be careful you don't confuse it with this other tool that looks like a box. This one up here with the X's in it, this is our button control. The one we're looking for is this one right here. Let's go ahead and add one into my form, and I'll drop it down here. Now if I click off of it, you can see we have a standard rectangle. Rectangles have all the same properties as lines, but they have one additional property that we can change. That's their fill color. If I go over here to the Format tab, you'll notice I've got Shape Fill now. I can use this drop-down list to choose a fill color that'll appear in the middle. And just like with lines, I've got the shape outlines. So I can change the outline color. I'll make it this dark red color. I can change their line thickness and their dash type here. So I'm going to change the line thickness to this 6 point as well. So now it's got a really thick dark red border with a light red interior. Finally, when working with lines and rectangles, there's one more property that's not available in the Format tab. Let's go ahead and select this rectangle one more time and take a look at the properties here. The property I want to find is called Special Effect. It's this one right here. By default, it's set to flat. If I use the drop-down list, we'll see we have different options: raised, sunken, etched, shadowed, and chiseled. We can go through these to see what they look like. So for instance, if I choose raised and go ahead and select off of it, you'll notice that it gets this raised appearance. It has a white border on the top and left, and then we have a darker border on the right-hand side and bottom. If I want to see what that looks like without the grid, I'll go to Design View and change my view here. So there's a raised appearance on our box. Go back into Design View. Let's go ahead and select it again. We'll go ahead and change our special effect. This time, I'm going to choose shadowed. Now you can see we get this kind of drop shadow effect on our box. So those are some of the things that we can do with our lines and rectangles. Lines and rectangles play an important role in organizing other elements on your forms and reports. They can be used to mark off space or group like objects together, such as a box around a group of buttons.